So, Josh, the fact that you came here today to talk to me, even though I know you were trying, to end this relationship and, in essence, kind of fire me, I want you to hear that the fact that you're here tells me you're not ready. You're not completely sold on dying. Okay? And I wouldn't want you to make that decision and want to take it back after you can't. In the time we've been together, we've been seeing each other for what, about 4 sessions now?
Yeah, yeah.
I know you've shared with me some incredible love for your daughter, for your children, and for your wife. And I wouldn't want you to walk away from that without knowing what might change tomorrow.
I do love them. I don't
And I
know.
know they love you.
I hope so.
They do. They came into that family session last week.
Yeah.
I could see it in their eyes. I know it's hard for you to see it. I don't know if you know this, but I've struggled with depression too. And I know when you're in it, it's so hard to see anything but that hurt.
Yeah, that's what it's like. It's like I'm in this pit, and I'm trying to get out of it. Like I just slide back down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Tired.
Well, what if we do this? What if right now we sit down and make a list of the things that are not working and pick one to focus on, one that we can try to change between now and the next time we see each other. What do you think?
One, I don't know how much longer I can last. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, let's pick one thing. The first thing that came out of your mouth just now was that you're so tired. How are you sleeping?
I'm not. I can't. It's like my mind is racing.
You can't turn it down.
I can't turn it down, and I'm trying like anything. Like I'm taking these like melatonin things, and I'm trying like pot, I'm trying drinking, I'm trying everything, and nothing's working, and I can't stay up any longer. I'm gonna lose my mind.
So it's been a long time since you've slept.
It feels like weeks.
Well, then let's focus on that as the first thing. So let's talk about how we can get you to sleep.
Okay.
When's your next appointment with your doctor? Can you make one?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you help me with that?
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can do it by
No,
myself
it's okay.
right now.
We can call.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call your doctor, right?
Yeah.
And try to come up with a plan about your sleeping.
Okay.
So there's lots of things that interfere with sleep, like being on your phone, in your bed. Is there a TV in your room?
Yeah.
So see, there are a lot of things we can try to work on just between now. Today is Thursday. I'm gonna see you Monday. Okay. So I want right now for us to devise a plan to see if we can get some sleep before Monday. When you hear me say we, do you know why I'm saying we? I'm saying we because I'm here with you. Okay, we're doing this together. Okay, you can check in with me. You have the hotline number for after hours. Okay?
Yeah.
We're partners. Okay. I'm gonna see you on Monday. Alive in that chair. Okay. So we're just gonna take one thing at a time. Just one thing.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go call your doctor.
Alright.
Role play's over.
Mm-hmm.
What worked for you, or what didn't?
I think there was persistence that was good. This kind and gentle persistence was really helpful. I think it was just enough to hear the we together. Like it didn't do a ton for me, but it was just enough to be like, okay, all right, I got an ally. at somebody here. Um, uh, yeah, I think those are the two biggest things. I'm not sure about what didn't work. I mean, I think it's all frame of reference anyway.
Absolutely.
I think that would be kind of tough to make that call. But I think those two things were for me were big insulators and pretty helpful. So, and yeah, I like this. You know, we're gonna work on one thing at a time because it's overwhelming.
It is.
When you're in that space and it seems like there's so many things that you need to fix in your life. Where do I start so I don't start at all?
Right.
You know, and then it's just this continuous cycle. So I think the idea of one step at a time. I still felt in pain. I still felt like I was, you know, in essence, like, you know, there's a good chance I'm not gonna get there, but like, I'll try your way. You know. So.
And that's kind of one of the goals. One of the goals of what we're doing is to install enough hope to kind of get to the next step and the next step and the next step. So picking that one thing, and that was, you know, I was trying to listen for what might be the most important thing to Josh, and he said, "I'm so tired." And I could tell, you know, from his body language and the way he was talking, and with what I know about depression, I figured probably his sleep was already compromised, right? And so usually if we can address a physical symptom so that the person can start feeling just a little bit better, and he gave a lot of cues. He talked about pot, he talked about drinking and melatonin. All those things together make for really unrestful sleep, right? So he's probably really feeling tired. So just kind of picking that one thing that you think you can help the person get even just a little bit of relief from. When I was working on the suicide and crisis hotline, sometimes getting a person to go take a hot bath was a really big deal. Like they would come back and call me an hour later and have a little bit of pep so that we could actually have a conversation and do some more planning. So some important steps in terms of what you might want to do in a session like this. One is to empathize, not, you know, we don't want to come in and say, oh, things will get better tomorrow. We don't know that. We can't make that promise. You know, Josh's reality may go on for years. It's a depressing Josh. In your character person, but empathize, you know, and there have been times when I've told a client, you know, I can tell that your life really sucks right now and I'm sorry. You know, and so I want us to take one little piece of it and see what we can work on. Listening, just giving him, there was a moment for me as the therapist where I really wanted to jump in and try to rescue him, and I had to sit there and say, no, I'm going to wait until he cues me that I can talk, right? So listening, because oftentimes when we're uncomfortable, our instinct is to cut the person off so that we can move away from that uncomfortable topic. So sitting with the person and listening and being uncomfortable, they're uncomfortable telling you. So being uncomfortable with them is part of it. And then, especially in a situation like this where you have an existing relationship with the client, you have things to draw on that they've told you that could be their reasons to live. They're things that I really don't want to think about what it's going to be like for that person, or I know that I'm key in this other thing. And if you have nothing else to hang on to with the client, the fact that they're in there with you talking says that they haven't completely decided, right? So hang on to that. And help them make that plan to live, even if it's just, I have had clients where we make a plan to live for 2 or 3 hours, right? Until one of their social supports come, or until they can come into the office, whatever it is. So make that plan to live. It's not a contract to live. It's a plan to live for the next few hours, days, etc., so that we can continue to work on baby steps. And then another thing would be to kind of step up the plan for what they're going to do. Once a week isn't going to work for this person. Right? They're going to need more than that. So if you can see them more frequently, if you can get them connected to their hotline, you know, there's the national hotline for suicide crisis. Depending on where you are, there are local hotlines. So, you know, trying to bring in their supports, their family, their friends, and I would say very importantly, have conversations with those people because they are not equipped to deal with this. They don't know what to do. And they may have been inadvertently making it worse, right? So there are conversations to be had around those things. But this is just to give you kind of an initial idea of what you want or what is a good plan of action to take. And it never hurts. Once you get your client to a point where they're like, okay, we're going to do these few things, then you go to your supervisor and you start calling other people. The National Suicide Hotline, I was trained. I used to work on it, and those counselors are actually trained to also help you. I have this client. This is what's going on. What are some things I can do? They're trained to help you. They're trained to help those family members. So we got to ask for help too. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think there's two things that come to mind. One is when empathizing. I think we want to be careful about not flipping that into like sympathy. Like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's more like an I statement or a thinking statement rather like, or you must feel like this or whatever. It's not like I feel so bad for you. Like, that's awful. Like, because nobody really wants somebody to really feel bad for them. The other piece I'm thinking of, I can't remember if I had this conversation with you or somebody else, but it's this effect that faith is an interesting insulator, and so it could depend on the background that you have with the client. But what do you think happens after you die? What do you think? What you don't know? What do you think? What could happen? Mm-hmm. And you might get a gauge as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing in their mind, and proceed accordingly. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't work, recalibrate. But I think that in my experience, and with some of the people I've come in contact with, I think that's been a very big new revelation for me. So I think those are probably the two things I looked at.
Okay. Thank you.